Hello, I'm Ron Sheldon. I'm the Technical Department Manager here at SoundOff Signal. At SoundOff Signal, we pride ourselves on providing excellent customer service and technical support to our customers. The technical video you're about to watch, we hope you find it beneficial in the operation and use of our products. Should you have any questions, please phone us or email us. So let's get started. Today we're going to talk about the operation and setup of the EPL8000 light bar. It's the interior light bar at SoundOff. When you receive your light bar, your power harness right here will not be connected, but the rest of everything else in here will be connected in. And one of the things you want to do is make sure your fuse is in there nice and snug, doesn't move, doesn't wiggle. Make sure your connectors are connected very well and secure. And I want to point out another thing. We have a dip switch setting right here. Typically in most operations, you want both dip switch 1 and 2 in the up position or away from the board. Okay? When you do get your power harness, you plug that into the side of the board and make sure it snaps and clicks in well. Now, all of the EPL8000 light bars come with an instruction sheet. The Pinnacle windshield instruction sheet has a picture of the Pinnacle bar on it. Right next to that are your technical specifications. It calls out 36 flash patterns. It operates at 10 to 16 volts DC. Current draw is 0.5 amps, and that's basically per module. And it calls out what the LEDs are, the 4 generation, and the operating temperature for the light bar. Next to that is the operation, and it gives you your wire colors and your wire colors out and the function that each one of these wires has. Well, it'll be warning 1 or warning 2, whether it be that your takedowns turn on, and then your white wire going to ground will give you your flash pattern selection. Flip the page. We'll go into the operation and the setup of the bar on the second page. And the second page basically calls out your flash pattern list on this side, your takedown flash patterns here, your dip switch setting and what it does, and how to set up the functionalities of the bar. Warning 1, warning 2, it has 2 different wires for that. Now the wires that come with on the harness here is a black wire you connect to ground, a red wire you connect to 12 volts or anywhere from 10 to 30 volts. Then you have 4 other wires. Your blue wire is warning 1, your brown wire is warning 2, your green wire is your takedown steady, and your white wire is your pattern change, your pattern reset, and low power. It's got 3 different functions for this particular wire. Now we're going to go through just the normal operation. I'm going to set up warning number 1, and by doing so I applied 12 volts to the blue wire, and the light bar flashes. Now, the dip switch setting in here, dip switch number 2 always needs to remain up. But dip switch number 1, if I push dip switch number 1 down and I cycle power, the takedowns will operate independently of the warning patterns on the other 6 modules. And if I did that, I'd have to cycle power. But right now I'm going to bump through some patterns. And what I'm going to do is take the white wire and I touch the white wire to ground. Every time I touch it to ground, it changes flash patterns. And because I have dip switch number 1 up, my takedowns are going to be in here. And they're going to follow the flash pattern that I set for the light bar. That's warning number 1. Warning number 2 is applying 12 volts to the brown wire. The same thing applies with that. I can take my white wire, I can go to ground with it. Each time I go to ground, the first time I go to ground, by the way, it does put you in flash pattern change. And then I touch it again, and we change patterns. I'm going to bump through a couple different patterns here. And you notice that the takedowns follow that pattern. If I want the takedowns come on steady, I just apply 12 volts to my green wire. They come on steady, remove it, and they go back to flashing. Now, I'm going to change this so that the takedowns operate independently. And by doing so is I take dip switch number 1 and I push that down towards the board. When I do that, I have to cycle power. So I cycle my 12 volts to my light bar. I bring it back on. The reason for that is that any dip switch change, I have to have the micro read it and see it. In order to do that, I have to cycle the power for it to do so. Now, in this mode, takedowns will not follow the warning pattern. So I'm going to put 12 volts to my green wire to go to takedown function. I'm going to take my white wire and I'm going to get into pattern change by touching. Each time I touch, I'm going to change the takedown flash pattern. Okay, we'll leave it right there. I'm going to go back and turn my warning 1 on. And I'm going to change my warning 1 pattern. When I do so, I touch white wire, and you notice the takedowns went off. The reason for that is that the takedowns are going to operate independently. They will not change patterns with these other 6 modules. So I'm going to change the pattern on these. Keep bumping it. There we go. Now I'm going to remove the blue wire. I'm going to reapply it. The takedowns obviously are not following the pattern that the warning lights are going. They're still on the pattern I set them up for, which is the fast, erratic pattern. But by applying 12 volts to the green wire is always going to override and give you steady takedowns. Keep in mind that the takedowns, one of their patterns is the takedowns being off. So you can always have the takedowns be off in this function also, and I'll show you that one. I'm going to take takedowns, apply 12 volts to the green wire, bump, and I'm going to keep touching until they go off. Now, when I apply 12 volts to my blue wire, my warning 1 wire, the takedowns are not even on, they're off altogether, and I can turn them on by just applying 12 volts, takedown comes on steady, remove it, they go off. This particular warning number 2 with the brown wire, it is not affected in the same fashion as warning 1 is for takedowns. So you can't actually get that off for this particular function. And I'm going to just bump around the flash patterns on this guy. And as you notice, it went out again. And it's because it's not going to follow the warning patterns. Remove it, come back, and it's not going to follow. Now remember, every time you change the dip switch, you've got to cycle power, and you can have the takedowns either on with the warning, or you can have them off and not flash with it. I want to demonstrate the low power function of the light bar for you right now. The warning pattern is going and flashing just fine, and let's say you get on scene and you want to reduce the intensity of the output of the light bar. All you do is you take your white wire and apply it to 12 volts. Put it on 12 volts, we drop down to roughly about 60% intensity output, and then remove it, we'll come back full intensity again. So white wire to 12 volts gives us low power. Remove it, we're back to full power. Now this bar also comes in a rear deck version, and you can have warning or arrow pattern in the rear deck. Should you have any questions on how to set up your bar, how to operate the bar, or any concern along that line whatsoever, please contact the technical service department at SoundOff Signal, and they'll be more than happy to help you through whatever issue you may have or question you may have. Thank you very much for your time.